nigga in Texas couldn't.
Check this out, man. I always tell folks you cannot make this stuff up. I was born in Mobile, home of the Mardi Gras, you know? I used to write poetry all the time. I think I was in the 3rd grade. My granddaddy, he said, man, you need to put that to music because it sounds good, young man. I took it to heart. My grandmother, she was a preacher. She said, you need to keep that B-Bop going, Rambo. Because she called me Rambo. I used to jump off this high porch, man. At the time, it seemed like it was 10 feet off the ground because I was like 2 years old jumping off this porch, you know. I showed no fear, so she called me Rambo early in the game, you know. I learned a few things. Putting things in the matchbox, putting things in my socks, putting flavors in my lunchbox, per se. So I would go to school, doing what I do, you know. By the time I was in the 2nd grade, I used to read a lot. I was the only child, but I had a lot of uncles and aunts in the house, a lot of cousins. And where I grew up, we was considered brothers and sisters. Even though we was cousins, I never really felt like I was the only child, even though I was the only child, you understand? And I have 2 other brothers, by the way, same daddy, different mama. But I didn't meet them till later on, in my late teens, early 20s, you know? So I started calling to the radio station, listening to Slick Rick tell stories, request to hear songs. Fast forward, I go to Germany. My mom joined the army to get me out of Mobile, you know. Moved to Germany. I'm still freestyling and everything, but at the time, it's like I ran into these cats, and we still cool to this day. We kind of reconnected, a few months ago. And they took me to this studio. This guy named Jan. It was my first time stepping foot in the studio, and I fell in love with the studio. My partners, they was like, man, come to the studio with us. We was real cool. We created a bond off the rip. Really gained knowledge of self running into these guys from Jersey, you know? And I'm a country boy born in the South. I'm 14 at the time. Went over there right before the wall went down. Went to Wiesbaden High School. Lived on economy. Stayed in Leibenheim, Mainz. When I moved to Germany, I'm like, man, you can go to McDonald's and get a beer. Seeing these young kids out there, man, they young drinking some hot beer. I'm like, let me get a beer and some pommes frites. Right across the street is this place called Das Crazy. It was a brothel. Looked like it was 50 stores at the time, but it's in the Bahnhof. That's downtown, with the trains, and they had gummies. Some people call them gummy worms. We call them gummies over there. The freshest gummies, geese, people call them gyros. We call them gyros. It was lamb meat just falling off the bone, man. But anyway, I went to the studio for the first time, and this light bulb came on because I was doing all this freestyling, writing poetry, since I was in 3rd grade, mind you. And I was like Tupac when he ran into the digital underground. I was like the backup dancer. Everybody didn't really know that I was flowing the way I was flowing because I was freestyling back then. And I put it together, regurgitated like I just wrote it. But I was always in the background, applauding for my folks to continue to do what they doing. Not just because I was shy, I was always quiet, laid back. Always quiet. You always got to watch the quiet ones, they say.
Ziploc my freshness. Left so many long-lasting impressions along the way, state to state in every section. Feel like I can touch every star in the sky, but at the blink of an eye, life can pass you by. Super photogenic in my best side. Paparazzi's taking pictures, but I'm camera shy. And folks are quick to approach you with their hands out, begging for a slice of that American pie.
That's what it feels like to be almost famous. We just talking shh.